The New Orleans Saints 2025 draft class deserves recognition, and not just because the team selected good players, but because it drafted franchise cornerstones.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson. And on today's episode, the Saints are up for best draft class this week at the NFL Scouting Combine. And I want to break down why I think they should win. We'll take a look at the trio of day 3 picks that separate this class from the rest. Why Jonas Sanker plays a bigger role than most outside of New Orleans would ever be willing to give him credit for. But we'll kick everything off with the 2 players at the very top that turn this franchise, that could help to turn this franchise around, not just as strong draft picks, but franchise cornerstones. We got all of that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's show. So let's get into it. Look, the Saints are one of 6 teams that have been named finalists for the Best Draft Class Award or Best Draft Award, which is given out after every year, beginning in 2018, which looked back to the 2017 draft. That's when the Saints actually won that inaugural award that year. And so basically just looks back one year, who had the best draft class, best rookie draft, and they hand out an award that goes to like the scouting department and everything like that. It's a cool honor, and it's awesome for maybe scouts that are looking to move up, general managers that are just looking to add to, their trophy walls or whatever, scout leads, college scout leads that are looking to do the same and to continue to build their reputations as well. It's a really cool honor for folks. So I think the Saints deserve to win this award when it's announced. The post on Twitter said that it was going to be Wednesday, tomorrow afternoon. So we'll find out. The Saints are finalists amongst themselves, and then the Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears, Cleveland Browns, New England Patriots, and New York Giants. We'll take a look at those other draft classes here in just a sec. But I want to lead everything off with the 2 players that really helped to make this possible right off the bat, round 1, round 2, in that 9-man 2025 draft class. That's starting left tackle, Kelvin Banks Jr., and now starting quarterback, Tyler Shough. Now, we're going to talk about some of the other guys that also became starters all throughout, but I want to start here because these are 2 premier prime positions that every team wishes to get right in the NFL draft. Blindside tackle, quarterback. And the Saints nailed both in the same draft class. And that does not happen very often. And by the way, they did so after hitting a home run by drafting Taliesin Fuanga, moving him from left tackle over to right tackle. And now they have 2 bookend tackles as well as a quarterback, all on rookie contracts. And so the Saints are piling on wins here when it comes to major positional investments in the top 15 of the draft, in the top 100 of the draft, and walking away winners in that situation. Look, it was no mystery that Kelvin Banks Jr. was going to be good, right? It didn't take a super talented scout to figure that out. Now, I'm not diminishing the job that the Saints did because obviously they needed to not talk themselves out of things. They needed to dig a little bit deeper, find out, make sure, all that. But the fact of the matter is that Kelvin Banks Jr. was the Outland Trophy winner, which meant that he was the best offensive lineman in college football in 2025. He was the Lombardi Trophy winner, again, best offensive line. And he also, or Lombardi Award winner, excuse me. And he also was, simply put, easily the best offensive tackle in this draft class, with the exception of Will Campbell. But clearly the Saints came out on the right side of that equation. Now, Will Campbell played well all throughout the season. Obviously, things are going to be overblown about how things went for him in the Super Bowl, but that's what happens when you play the Super Bowl, right? But it's clear that the Saints got the best offensive tackle in football here because he also played the highest number of snaps on an island or without a double team and without chip help from a running back or a tight end than any tackle in the league. That explains why his pressure numbers were high, but he kept his sack numbers relatively low for a rookie starting day 1, week 1 left tackle, and was amazing to watch in the run game. He was also excellent in terms of his ability to protect his quarterback and get out of these really awkward situations where he's I don't know, some of the like flexation, like ankle flexation stuff that he did all throughout the year was incredibly impressive. And so you could see a lot of that. So Kelvin Banks Jr., a franchise cornerstone for this New Orleans Saints team, was drafted the first round of that draft with the number 9 overall selection. Home run hit by the New Orleans Saints there for this draft class. Now they followed that up in the second round at pick number 40 with probably the guy that has everybody paying attention to the Saints right now, and that is Tyler Shough. That's what happens when you hit on a quarterback in the draft, and especially when you can hit on a quarterback in the second round of the draft. It takes that rookie quarterback contract conversation and turns it into a whole other level of exciting because it's a second round quarterback rookie contract. And so the Saints put themselves in a great position with both these guys. Tyler Shough became the starter with 9 games left in the season, went on to win 5 games as a starting quarterback. That was the most out of any quarterback in this quarterback class, which included guys like Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, a lot of guys that brought a lot of noise before the season began. But Tyler Shough is the one that went out there and won more games than anybody. 3 game winning drives, 2 fourth quarter comebacks. It's very clear that Tyler Shough was probably the best rookie quarterback in this draft class in 2025 during his rookie year from a results perspective. Cam Ward is incredibly talented and does some amazing things on the football field. When the Tennessee Titans actually put a football team around him, they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. Cam Ward is going to continue to be a lot of fun to watch, but so too will Tyler Shough be as the Saints start to build up the weapons around him as well. The Saints walked away with not just good quality draft picks, right? You can go into a 9-man draft, and if you walk away with 2 hits, you did really, really well in that draft class, right? Let's say you go with 7, you have 7 picks in the draft. You walk away with 2 hits, that's a home run. You did a great job. But the Saints did more than that. They hit grand slams with their first 2 selections, and they got guys that could be long-term starters at premier positions, premium positions, positions that the NFL looks at as the 2 of the most important positions in football. They did that twice within the top 40 selections of the NFL draft in 2025. That alone deserves the recognition that they could potentially win tomorrow as the best draft class of 2025. Going beyond even just the look of these 2 guys in terms of what they did on the field, you look at their connection to the community, especially Tyler Shough, his embracing of the city of New Orleans. I know that's not something that's factored in to these types of awards and things like that, right? They don't look at, you don't have people who are voting on that from Indianapolis or whatever looking at, oh, well, how did, Tyler Shough get along that one time that he went to, the 9th or whatever. Like nobody cares about that, but we care about it very much as New Orleanians who understand the connection between this community and this team. And so I do think that that's another thing that at least deserves a shout out from our perspective, looking at it as people covering the team, people rooting for the team, people cheering for the team, wherever it is, whatever box you check, there is a real difference being made in how the outlook of the New Orleans Saints are moving forward based on Tyler Shough's ability to blend into this community and to affix himself to this community, make himself a part of it. So I did want to shout that out because I do think it's a special part of what the excitement is here in New Orleans, even though it wouldn't be considered when it comes to the idea of what the best draft class was. But what is considered is the Saints' second starter of the season, second rookie starter of the season, who actually wasn't Tyler Shough, but was rookie safety Jonas Sanker, who has more to do with this award than maybe some might expect. Let's get to that next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends over at Home Chef. As the new year continues to roll along, we're all looking at opportunities to simplify our routines, right? Whether it be because of busy work days, cold winter nights, which are for some reason back here in New Orleans. Let's get rid of those again, please. No, thank you. No, thank you. But dinner can be a big opportunity for you to make a big difference for yourself. And that's where Home Chef comes in, because they're going to send you fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy to follow recipes so you can impress each and every night in the kitchen. It also doesn't just save you time, but saves you money as well. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 a month on groceries. Well worth your time. And for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. All right, family. Yes, Kelvin Banks Jr. and Tyler Shough deserve a ton of credit for the Saints being in line for this potential recognition and being considered for this best draft award for the 2025 draft class. But safety Jonas Sanker deserves a lot of credit as well. Look, you could look at a lot of different things when it comes to Jonas Sanker. You could look at his contributions on the field. You could look at how quickly he stepped in as a rookie. You could look at sort of the up and down nature of his season that even after he hit that little bit of a slump in the middle of the year, continued to trickle back up and then exceeded where he was at the beginning of the season. He just got better and better and better. Jonas Sanker was one of 2 third-round picks for this team in 2025, along with Vernon Broughton. Vernon Broughton got his first game exposure in week 2, but unfortunately a hip injury ended his season. That same week 2 game was when Jonas Sanker stepped into the starting role at safety in place of Julian Blackmon, the veteran who was signed over the course of the offseason, whose season ended after the first week of the year with a torn labrum injury. After that, Jonas Sanker stepped in and became the starter for effectively 16 games, right? 16 weeks. He appeared in all 17 games, however, but he became a 16-week starter. And he played 976 total snaps, according to Pro Football Focus, over on the defensive side. If you look at every single rookie defensive player, not cornerback, not safety, not defensive back, every single rookie defensive player from 2025, Jonas Sanker ranks number 3 in snaps played. That's coming off of his first season when he was a 3rd-round pick, where he was a guy that was not expected to step into a starting role and who was contributing on special teams and all those other things. That's a dude that was the 3rd highest snap getter in all of rookie defenders in 2025. And he didn't just take the field and stand around. No, he got work done as well. Let's run through a couple of different things. Looking at all of the rookie defensive backs, corners or safeties from 2025 that played at least 200 coverage snaps. So that gives us a good list of 24 different defenders here out of the 2025 season. And when we look at where Jonas Sanker ranks on some of these numbers, number 4 in reception percentage allowed. He ranks number 7 in forced incompletion percentage. Important to note that he's not the only Saints rookie in the top 10 of that list. Number 1 on that list among all defensive backs that played in 2025, at least 200 coverage snaps, Quincy Riley, who we'll talk about in a little bit, leads the way with a 20% forced incompletion percentage. You look at NFL passer rating in terms of what quarterbacks were able to earn as a passer in their passer rating when targeting different defenders. R.J. Mickens was the lead at 12.5. Jonas Sanker was in second place at 58.6 passer rating allowed when targeted. The next after him was Denzel Burke, the Arizona cornerback, by the way, 81.6%. So quite a gap in between where Jonas Sanker is and who is in 3rd place as well on top of that. Snaps per reception, he allowed a reception on only every 35.9 snaps on average. He allowed a reception every 35.9 snaps. That's it. That's the second best in this same class of rookie defensive backs. Jonas Sanker is not just a good player. Jonas Sanker might be great. And I'm not just saying that because, I don't know. I'm saying it because the numbers say he is. Now, we have to see how things look going into 2026, how his trajectory goes. Does he stay healthy? Does he stay on the field? All those other things, right? He's got to clean up some of the missed tackles. 11 missed tackles, also leads that same group of 24 defensive backs. 25% missed tackle rate leads these defensive backs. Oh, sorry, his second second amongst these defensive backs, thanks to Dante Trader Jr. out of Miami, who has a 28.6% missed tackle percentage. So it's not all perfect, but it's never going to be, and it was never expected to be. Jonas Sanker is 1,000% a part of why this 2025 draft class is looked upon so highly that it would be considered a finalist amongst this group of teams. So I just didn't want to leave Jonas Sanker out. He deserves his own bit of the conversation here when it comes to the potential for the Saints to win this award tomorrow. Just a reminder, the Saints are finalists along with the Panthers, Bears, Browns, Patriots, and Giants. Look at the Panthers. Pretty strong draft class there. Obviously, they had the offensive rookie of the year. The Browns had the defensive rookie of the year in Carl Schlesinger. The linebacker, it was wide receiver Teteroa McMillan for the Carolina Panthers as well. They also got a couple of other guys that were big-time contributors for them throughout the season in that draft class. The Bears have a pretty good claim, too. I like what the Bears did. They ended up getting Colston Loveland, a big tight end in the first round, turned around in the second round. Oh my gosh, say round again, Ross. Got Luther Burden as well as Ozzy Trapillo out or in the second round. Both those guys were big-time contributors for their offense. And then, of course, Kyle Monangai, the running back they drafted in the seventh round who looked like a stud for a long time throughout the year. Guys like Isaiah Pacheco, Kyle Monangai, they're the reason why teams pick up randomly decide, all right, we're going to snag this running back late as opposed to going for running backs early. Those guys are a testament to why that happens. New England Patriots obviously had a great draft class headlined with Will Campbell. Like I mentioned about Will Campbell earlier, people are going to overblow what they saw most recently. And so that Super Bowl performance is going to be held against him. Hopefully he wears that as a chip on his shoulder and he continues to develop, get better, all that other stuff. Flush out the noise, dude. Don't worry about it. But it was clear that the Saints ended up on the right side with Kelvin Banks Jr., even though they didn't get to grab a guy like of that caliber like Will Campbell that early. And then, of course, the Cleveland Browns had a strong draft class. They just overloaded themselves with quarterbacks in terms of Dylan Gabriel as well as Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, that'll do. You know what I mean? Like, did you really need Dylan Gabriel? But yeah, that one's close. That's a good draft class over there. And the Giants had a really, really good draft class as well. Of course, headlined by guys like Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo and others who will continue to contribute for a long time for that team. Obviously, the New York Giants rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, he was the other big quarterback in terms of conversation for offensive rookie of the year, Pepsi Zero Sugar rookie of the year, all that. But of course, Tyler Shough finished out on top of all that. And I think the Saints should finish out on top of all these teams when it comes to this award as well. And the one other piece that separates them from all these other folks is what the Saints also got with a trio of big-time contributors and, if not already, soon to be starters in day 3. Let's get to that next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. If you've ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals live in living color, well, now you have a chance to get entered into an opportunity to do exactly that. Thanks to our friends over at FanDuel and their NBA sweepstakes. It couldn't be easier. All you got to do is head over to FanDuel.com, take your profit boost, and put it down on any NBA future. Once you do that, whether it's conference championship, who's going to win it all, whatever it is that you're taking a look at, any NBA future. Once you put that down, you'll be automatically entered in a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That includes flights, tickets, the whole experience. You already know you're going to be locked in when it comes to the NBA Finals. Now, you can be locked in person like never before. And if you're somebody that's already betting on futures, why not take a shot here? So head over to FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered into your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. The Saints nailed some draft picks within their first 3 rounds, but it was some of the day 3 things that they did and some of the success stories there that helped to separate them from the rest of the pack when it comes to the potential to win the Best Draft Class of 2025 award. We appreciate you very much, as always, making us your first listen and being an everydayer here on the show. which is a proud part of the #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. We thank you very much for being here with us to bring you your team every day. Don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club, extra content. You can also join our exclusive Discord, get access to our exclusive merch store as well. Just head over to lockedonsaints.supercast.com or click the link in the description. Check out our all access program as well, where you get one-on-one texting from me. I'm about to ready to head to Indianapolis here in a bit. And so make sure you come through for all the updates from there, as well as film studies, Q&As, Zoom calls, all that kind of stuff as well. We'll be doing a bunch over the course of the offseason. So the Saints, not just winning with their top 3 or 3 of their top 4 selections in this draft class, but they continue to find wins in the third day of the draft as well. And 3 wins in particular stand out most to me. Cornerback Quincy Riley, linebacker Danny Stutsman, both of which 4th round selections, and 6th round pick Devin Neal deserves a lot of recognition as well. Devin Neal started off, or didn't get a ton of opportunities early on in the season, but then became a much bigger part of the offense after Kendre Miller's injury in week 7. Was that week 7 up against the Chicago Bears? Made an immediate impact with a big time pass block that opened up the lane for Spencer Rattler to be able to get a pass off downfield, and then just continued to kind of show out and shine. After that, unfortunately, his season ended with an injury that, as I understand it, if it would have happened at an earlier point in the year, it would not have been season ending, but it was just at an awkward point at which it happened. I think there were only like 2 games left in the year at that point, to where it was like, all right, yeah, they got to shut him down for the rest of the year. So he ended up moving to injured reserve. The team turned things over to Audric Estime, but the promise around Devin Neal is absolutely still there. It's the 2 defenders, however, that are might be the biggest separating factor when it comes to what puts this draft class over the top, because you have a starting left tackle, you have a starting quarterback, you have a starting safety. Then you added another premium position in the 4th round with a starting cornerback out of Quincy Riley, and somebody right in the middle of your defense that can be a big time contributor for you as well, Danny Stutsman, who ended up taking like the 3rd set of reps in each game, in each half, from an established veteran in Pete Werner. So working his way on the field, forcing the Saints effectively to find a way to get him on the field, because you're not going to leave him off the field. You're not going to not have him on the field. It was one of the first things we said about him after the Saints drafted him, and we got to look at the fit. It was like, well, yeah, the Saints are going to have a really, really hard time keeping this guy off the field. So they just built it into their routine to make sure that he was there. But as a starter, Quincy Riley was outstanding. I mentioned earlier that he led all rookie defensive backs with at least 200 coverage snaps. And look, 200 coverage snaps is not a lot. That's like 2 or 3, that's like 3 or 4 games, right? Depending on how many defensive snaps you play in those games. Sometimes you play 40, sometimes you play 60, other times you play 80. It just depends on how well or how poorly things are going for your team at that time. But his 20% forcing completion percentage led all rookie defensive backs in that category. His 8 pass breakups was tied for 2nd amongst all defensive backs in that category. And if you look at his passer rating when targeted, which is just 96.4, that was 8th amongst all of those same, or amongst that same qualifying group. And so he's top 10 in every major metric. And by the way, 58.8% reception percentage allowed. That is number 6 amongst this same group of 24 defensive backs. He was among the best of the best when it came to rookie cornerbacks in this year's class. And he was drafted in the 4th round. Spent time at Middle Tennessee, then went to Louisville, and then now ends up in New Orleans, and then eventually took over as that starter opposite Kool-Aid McKinstry. Our insiders group and our all access group got a quick text before we were going into for the Seattle Seahawks game, because I was hearing that we were going to see more Quincy Riley starting in that game. And that was kind of the game where he just took over and took off after that. And that wasn't just because the Saints were trying to keep Isaac Yiadom off the field defensively to get a compensatory 4th round pick. It was because Quincy Riley was really, really good. And again, it was hard to keep him off of the football field. And so I do think that that becomes another very important piece in all of this, is that he was so incredibly good for this team coming out of the fourth round and did exactly what it was that his bill was set for him to do, which was be an impact player at the catch point, have those ball skills, and be a ball hawk. Now, he didn't walk away with multiple interceptions, only walked away with one interception, but he had 8 pass breakups and then had the 10 different forced incompletions and that 20% forced incompletion percentage. And all of those metrics show that he was incredibly disruptive and that he was the ball hawk that he was kind of made out to be in this year's draft. Remember, he came in to New Orleans with the most interceptions of any cornerback in the 2025 draft class. And so, first of all, snagging him in the fourth round at all was wild. And of course, the Saints were very happy to do that. They knew what it was that they had. They knew what it was that they had an opportunity to be able to build with him in the build. And so getting him opposite Kool-Aid McKinstry, the Saints now don't have any question marks when it comes to outside corner, at least for now. And so just like Tyler Shough, just like Kelvin Banks Jr., just like Jonas Sanker, you end up adding in another big-time piece and another starter from this draft class. 4 bona fide starters in their rookie seasons from a 9-man draft class with the potential for 2 others on the way in Danny Stutsman and Devin Neal. All right, family, time for a little bit of lanyap for you. I want to keep our conversation going with this draft class, and I want to take a look at what some of the principles were that helped the Saints get here. So this is going to go a little quick here for some lanyap, but I think that it's good context. Here are a couple of things that the Saints focused on when it came to this 9-man draft class and how they got to this point to where you have all these contributors, all these players that either are or will develop into key starters for you in time, and also put you in position for, an award here towards the end of the 2025 season before the 2026 season officially rolls over on March 11th. So a couple different things, right? Going back to the trends, and we talked about this right after the draft. I think I published this story over at LouisianaSports.net. I think it was in April. It's like April 27th. It was like very, very soon after the draft. But they focused on a couple of different key things. They looked for people with team captain experience. They drafted 3 of those. They also looked for people that had sort of these postseason recognitions, things like the Outland Trophy winner, the Lombardi Award winner, all that. They had 5 of those players that had some level of a postseason award. That could be an all-conference team, all those other things as well. But here's where things got super specific. All 9 of the New Orleans Saints 2025 draft class members had at least 40 games of experience. 8 of them proved to be durable by not missing any more than 4 games due to injury over the course of their entire collegiate career. The only exception, of course, was Tyler Shough. And of course, that was a big conversation, looked fine during his rookie season. And then they also went after people that were consistently involved, named, or considered when it came to end-of-year all-star games. That is not new for New Orleans. They went with 5 players that participated in the Senior Bowl, and then that did not include a guy like Vernon Broughton, who accepted an invite but did not participate at the Senior Bowl, Danny Stutsman, who was invited but declined, and then Fadil Diggs, along with Moliki Mataval, who I also didn't even mention. We didn't even get to 7th-round picks in here because of how good everybody was in this class. But Diggs accepted an invite to the East-West Shrine Bowl. And so they really leaned in on all those key factors. And so if you're looking for players to follow all throughout this draft process, consider guys that have team captain experience, that received end-of-year honors, that have 40 games at least of experience, and have proved to be durable. That last one might be very, very important. And of course, Senior Bowl or All-Star game participation after the year. That's how the Saints landed a winning 2025 draft class, or fingers crossed, right? We believe, we think, we hope it should be a winning draft class for the New Orleans Saints. Even if they don't win an award, it's still a winning draft class for New Orleans. And now the Saints hope to follow it up again in 2026. All right, y'all, coming up later on today, the New Orleans Saints need to spend how much money in free agency? Why a report going around shouldn't get you too excited. We got that coming up for you later on today. We appreciate you very much, as always, making us a part of your routine, for saying yes to me and the show. If you see me, please say hi. If you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know what the family's doing, how you living. Let me know how your mom and them. And trust Who Dat Nation. I'll holla at you.